What's up everybody? In today's video we're going to talk about the Conor McGregor Color Blast Insert Challenge. This is a challenge that is not live but is coming later in September, currently unannounced, but we know it's coming. And the goal of this video is to help you speculate on what cards might be required so you can kind of game them in advance while they're cheap so that you can save yourself some money. You ready? Let's get into it. Okay, so let's first take a look at some of the previous challenges that have Panini has done to see if we can spot some patterns. I'm going to be isolating insert card challenges because the parallels are a different beast. So let's just take a look. Now we're going to gain the most information from the previous UFC challenge as well as the baseball challenges because those base card sets have the 3 different tiers, whereas the NBA only has the 1 tier, all limited to $17.99. And so for those base cards it's kind of hard to determine which ones to target since there's only the 1. But it's still, I think we can still gain some extra knowledge from it. So let's go ahead and take a look. This is one of the earlier insert challenges. This was an Anthony Davis flashback. As we can see, they required 5 different base cards and then 5 from the set, the flashback set. Now this is a pattern that you'll see over and over again. Let's take a look at another one here. This is for LeBron James. This is another insert one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 base cards and then 5 from the set. And so we see this pattern over and over again. When they drop an insert pack, usually you need 5 cards from that set. So obviously we can't get those in advance. You just need to try to get in on the pack drop and hopefully the cards that you pull are from, that challenge. But then they usually have 5 base cards as well. There's one time they deviated from that, and if they follow that pattern again, I think we might be able to prepare in advance as well. But there's a chance that it might be just 5 random base cards. Now, once again, we can't gain as much information from the NBA because the NBA only has the 1 tier. But let's go ahead and look at both the UFC and baseball to see if we might be able to isolate what possible tiers they might use. So this is the first and only UFC insert set that has dropped, and it required the same type of pattern, 5 base cards, 5 from the set, but the 5 base cards that it required were all at a $5.99, so they used the premier base cards to do this challenge. Now there's no connection with Habib and these 5 players, so they were what seems to be random. So we didn't gain any information on which cards they might have used, but noticeably they all stay within the same set of the mid-tier. Now I found it interesting that when the first baseball challenge happened for the whammies, that they also went with the mid-tier for the base cards, and the mid-tier for baseball is at a 449. So it's that same thing, 5 base cards, 5 from the set, both from the mid-tier. Now, after this first one, baseball went ahead and had their Color Blast release. And their Color Blast release for a Mike Trout, once again, following the same pattern, but they went up to the highest tier on the second challenge. So they went for the ones out of $9.99. So their first one was the mid-tier. Their second one, which was a Color Blast too, was out of $9.99. So if the UFC follows that same pattern, and I think that's the most likely scenario, the first was the mid-tier, and the second, which also is going to be a Color Blast, might be from that concourse level, which are all out of $999. Now this Giannis Color Blast reward was a deviation from their normal pattern. Threw us all for a loop, but it was I actually kind of liked it how they did it because it was very theme based. So they went with 4 cards from the player on the card. And then the remaining ones were all from the blue circles, which are a rare card, all from his team on the Bucks. And so there was that Bucks theme, and then you had to collect some from the player himself. Now, I found this interesting, and if Panini does do this with the Conor McGregor challenge, then I think there's the way to play it. Because if I'm just putting myself in the mind of the person who is designing this challenge. First, there's some continuity. This was the very first Color Blast challenge, and the Conor McGregor one is going to be a Color Blast, so they might return to this pattern. And if they do, And I was in the mind of the person who was creating it. Obviously, UFC is not a team sport, and so it's very individualistic. And so, what I was thinking, if I was doing it, is I would go for that same where I'm collecting the Conor McGregor cards. And so, if I was wanting to speculate, that would be the 3 base cards, so his Concourse, his Premier, and his Octagon side. And then you can also possibly pull from his tie-dye as well as his global icons. I'm not sure if I was creating it, I don't think I would do the tie-dye because that's only out of 49. That's really limiting the amount of people who can complete the challenge. I don't think that's the goal with this base set. So I wouldn't include that tie-dye. I might actually probably stay away from, actually no, the global icons is at a 250, so the octagon side is actually even more rare. So you know what, if I was wanting to prepare in advance, I might have those 4 Conor McGregor cards in my collection in the possibility that they follow this. And then what would I do for the others? So there's no teammates, right? So what I would do if I wanted to follow a theme is maybe I do it from players that Conor McGregor has fought, people who he's fought, or maybe ones that he's beat. And so looking at his record here, if you just look at people in the UFC who he's fought, who have cards, these are the people, and you might want to write these down. We have Max Holloway, we have Dustin Poirier, who he's fought 3 times, by the way, Jose Aldo, Nate Diaz, Khabib, and Donald Cerrone. So those are the ones that he has fought. Now, if I'm doing this, actually, you know what? There's actually no difference between those he's fought and those he's beat, with the exception of Khabib. Khabib he's never won against, but all the others, like Nate Diaz has a loss against, but he also has a win. Poirier, he has 2 losses, but he also has a win. So Khabib is the only one where he doesn't have a win over it. So what I might have done is use the base cards of people that he's fought or people that he's fought and beat. I thought that would be interesting. And so if you were wanting to kind of limit the amount of cards you collect in anticipation, you might want to target the Concourse and the Premier of all these fighters, I should say, who Conor has fought. I think that would be an interesting way to speculate on this. And then once again, I would go and target all the different Conor cards, with probably the exception of the tie-dye. I don't really think there's a good chance of them using the tie-dye. But there's one more thing I want to say in how you could possibly speculate about this. So we've determined that they're probably going to use either the Premier, which is the mid-tier, or the highest tier, which is the Concourse for base cards. Now, when they've done this, for example, with Khabib's, they went random. They didn't necessarily use any specific people who are tied to the player on the card. So what I want to pose to you is the potential of building the Concourse and the Premier set in advance before the challenge happens. Now, hear me out on this. These sets are currently going for extremely cheap. In many instances, I'm able to buy both the Concourse and the Premier cards of the non-superstars for $2 at a double-digit serial. And so that means even if the double-digit serial is not important to you, that just gives you even better odds of being able to buy almost all the cards for $2 at that base value. Now, here's the thing, is that once the challenge goes live and people want to get this Conor McGregor reward, all of those base cards that are required are going to jump up in value, especially if it's Premier, because then it's only limited to 599. There's less to go around. So if it's a Concourse card, excluding the fact that it might be a superstar like Khabib, like if it's just a regular Joe card, it's probably going to go in that $10 to $15 range to pick up one of the Concourse cards that's in the challenge. If it's the Premier, it's probably going to go higher than that. It's probably going to go in that 25 to 30 range. Once again, higher if they use a superstar, but just if it's kind of a regular Joe. Now, here's the thing, is that just picture yourself with the Premier, for example. If you know that right now maybe you don't have too many UFC cards and you want to do this challenge, let's just take that $25 base for the Premier cards that you're going to have to pay. So 5 times 25, that's $125. So you know you're going to have to spend about $125 once the challenge goes live, right? But now, if you took that same $125 that you're planning to pay once the challenge goes live and you instead invested it beforehand, guys, out of the 100 set for the Premier, if you invested at $125 and you bought all $2 cards, you could pick up, over 60 different cards. I mean, and that's only leaving 40 left. And by the way, then you're building a higher number of cards in your collection as well. And that could be possibly used for future challenges. It's not like this is the only challenge that the UFC is going to have. A lot of these have numerous different insert sets that go back and use the base cards. And so it's more advantageous for you to build out the set in advance while you can get them on the cheap. And that way you not only have a better odds of actually accidentally buying the cards that they're going to use in the challenge, but then you have more cards that will be potentially used for other challenges, as well as then having a bigger collection. And some of these fighters might take off in the future as well. And so if you don't care about the UFC, you just want the reward, you know what, maybe you just want to buy the cards when they come up. But if you really like the UFC, or you want to do all these different challenges that are coming up, I think it might be worth it to build out the Concourse or the Premier set or both in advance, because I just think that you're getting more bang for your buck. You're eliminating the stress of having to buy it when everybody's bidding on the same cards, and then you're having more cards in your collection, which can have a better value over time. So guys, that's my recommendation. My top recommendation is to build out the Concourse and the Premier set right now while you can get them at the base level. And then if you don't want to do that, what I would do is I would target the Concourse and the Premier cards of Conor McGregor, as well as everyone that Conor McGregor has fought. Once again, Panini has thrown us curveballs before, where that, we thought we were anticipating one thing with the challenge. They went a completely different direction, like they did for that Giannis Color Blast, where it didn't follow the standard pattern. They might do that again. And all this, was, didn't really work out for advice. But if we're just going to go based on history and probabilities and what is most likely, and you want to have that competitive edge and save a few dollars in advance, that's my strategy, and that's what I'm doing. I've already built out the Concourse set. I'm one card short of the Premier set, and I'm even working on the Octagon side as well. So guys, hopefully you found that helpful, and until next time, peace out.